Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Nothing to See Here podcast. Hi, it's Frankie.
It's Hannah.
I've had a fun little day, guys.
Have you?
I have. Do you know what happened today?
I do.
I know you guys do, but do our listeners know? They probably don't.
Not. No.
Well, number one, I moved today, which was a headache in and of itself. And then we had a fun little surprise visit to the ER, not for me.
Which is the most shocking part.
I don't know if I would say
It is the most shocking part.
It's not the most shocking part.
You called and told me you were at the ER, and I think I just said what for. I almost just asked you, what did you do this time?
Hannah did ask that.
Good on you, Hannah.
I asked if we lost you. I didn't know what was happening.
No, we went to the ER because Peanut Gallery, do you want to tell the view? Listen, okay, I'll tell him. Peanut Gallery decided that when we were moving, which I will say, no accidents when the movers were here, which is fantastic. It was just the little stuff. She shut the hatch to the car on her head. Now, Frankie and Hannah, you got a nice, good picture of the goose egg that is on her head. How would you describe that?
Her whole forehead is a bruise.
Her forehead is a bruise.
That's a good description.
That's good. Yeah. So we went to the ER. We were there for 3 hours so that she could get a CT scan and be told she's concussed. I don't want to hear any bullshit the next time I have to go to the ER for something because I didn't hit my head using the hatch of the car back door hatch, whatever.
I want to know how she managed to hit the front of her head.
She was closing the hatch because it pulls down from above.
Pulled it down on my head.
And she pulled it down on her head. She thought she was far enough away. She was not.
And the minute I did it, I said, well, I just did that. So.
And then she limped back to the house. You kind of limped. Okay. Well, she came in and she's like, am I bleeding? Which scared and put me into overdrive. Apparently, whenever I'm worried about somebody, I get really mean.
Massively. Will you go to the ER with me? No.
Jeez.
I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if this was just like I hit my head, and that was before I felt it. I said that before I felt it. The thing that threw me was as soon as we noticed that her pupils weren't reacting, I was like, yeah, we gotta go.
And how many times have we taken you, or your mother has taken you to the ER?
Are you actually gonna guilt trip me right now?
Yes, I am, because you told your mom, no, you can't go to the ER.
Mm-hmm.
Will you go with me? No, you can go by yourself. I'll wait here.
I was so mad at you.
I'll wait here.
To be fair, I don't think I would have been as upset. I probably still would have been upset, but I don't think I would have been as upset if I hadn't spent, the entire day sweating and hauling. And then I come back and we finally get back. It's like 6:30 p.m. I go to take a shower and the water pressure is non-existent. So I couldn't shower. I had to take a bath. That took 25 minutes to fill up.
I think you're exaggerating. I was only going like 10.
It was like 25. Yes, I know I reacted poorly, but in my defense,
there is no defense when you act poorly. To your mother who does everything for you, and you say, will you go to the ER with me? No.
In my defense, most people, whenever they're faced with high stress or are worried about somebody that is important to them, John Lawrence is climbing in the couch.
That's all.
Worried about somebody that is important to them will often showcase their concern in the form of anger. I rest my case.
Where did you read that from? Angry People Weekly?
No. No, Frankie. I learned it in one of my psychology classes.
Yeah, but that sounded like you were like reading from a textbook. So like I thought you were like reading it.
Was I reading from a textbook?
It was not.
Thank you.
That's Amanda when she gets all therapy speak.
Yeah, you guys had a whole episode about that. Remember that?
To episode 2.
So that's how my day was. Oh, by the way, my name is Amanda.
Wow.
I'm
It's
actually
taken
happy with that.
32 episodes.
Hey, to be fair, you usually don't even say your name. So
True.
We're 32 episodes in and she's finally introduced herself.
Are we 32 episodes in?
Yeah.
Has it been 32 weeks in 2024?
we started recording before that. What do you mean?
Oh, right. Shush. Nobody say anything. Frankie, cut this part out.
This isn't getting cut.
How come you can cut whatever
I'm-
you want, but when I want
I'm
something
editing.
cut-
I'm editing an episode right now where you wanted something cut because you couldn't name a dead British person.
Who is the dead British person?
No, we were talking about a cemetery in Britain, and I said, "Oh, the famous dead British people," and you said Christopher Columbus,
Fuck that guy.
Spanish.
and your defense was, "I'm just naming famous dead people." So
I was
Fair.
embarrassed. I'm sorry I gave birth to her.
Hey, was
All
I
right.
sick that week? Do we
no,
know?
no,
Damn
you
it.
weren't.
I can't wait to listen to that episode.
Yeah,
Which
that's this
episode was
week's,
that?
the Highgate Vampires.
Ah, that one.
Mhm. Go listen to that episode too.
Speaking of the Highgate Vampires, that was a spooky episode brought to us by Hannah. And Hannah is coming at us with another spooky episode.
Yeah. Yeah, this
I-
episode tonight is for Amanda because she keeps requesting a spooky, scary story that's actually spooky, scary.
Yeah, I do. I will say though, you said spooky, and as soon as you said spooky, John Lawrence just ran for the hills.
That was because I was
I don't
John
know.
Lawrence.
I'm
Poor
gonna
baby.
say that it was Hannah, not you.
So welcome, guys, to a little game I'm calling Haunt or Hoax. It's a game where I tell Amanda and Frankie the story of a haunted house, and they have to decide if it's a true haunting or just a big old hoax.
This actually sounds really fun. I was a little worried that we were just going to be listening and putting input onto things that aren't actually going to be scary. I really don't find a lot of things scary, to be fair. So I think this is going to be fun instead of figuring out if this is scary or not, at least
Yeah.
for me. Figuring out if this is real or not. I can get behind this. Hannah,
Mhm.
good job.
You're welcome. I mean, you just took the words right out of my mouth because I'm going to tell you all about a haunting. I'm going to give you all the evidence that proves this house is haunted. And I'm also going to tell you what skeptics have to say about the haunting and evidence. Cue the spooky music, cue the thunder.
Do we
Which
have
is-
spooky music? Can you add that, Frankie?
No,
Can you add that in post?
I can open my window and I can get thunder B-roll for you right now.
don't do that. Don't cue the thunder because if the power goes out in the middle of this recording,
If the power goes out tonight, we're stopping and recording tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm
that's
fine
exactly
with that.
what's happening. Yeah.
Mhm.
Frankie's tired. Frankie told me I moved into this new house. Frankie told me I don't want to see this house because I just want to record. I'm tired and I'm hot.
Yes, and I cannot turn the fan on while we're recording. So
I'm sorry, Frank.
Neither can we, and we're on the second floor.
As am I.
Yes, I turned the air conditioner on.
Are you guys ready
I'm
to
ready.
hear about tonight's haunted house?
Yes, we're ready.
We will be talking about the one and only, the Amityville Horror.
it's very exciting.
I did
Wait,
tell you
do we-
this last
do we
week. what
know-
we were
Yeah.
doing.
This is so. Are we deciding if it's a hoax or if it's real or not?
Correct.
We're deciding it. So there's no. Oh man, here I was thinking that you were gonna give us like a fake haunted house, and we had to guess if this was real or if it was fake.
I mean, I can do that in the future. I'm starting
be
with
fun.
a well-known haunting.
That would be fun. I would
Okay.
like this.
Okay, I will add that to the list, and one day in the future, when you least expect it, I will do that for you. Now, before I get to the ghost story, I do have to quickly, very, very quickly, bring up a tragedy that is relevant to the whole thing. If you know the Amityville horror case, then you know what I'm talking about. It has a true crime element. It is the DeFeo family murders. And I'm sorry, I do have to bring it up ever so briefly because I can't talk about the haunting without mentioning what happened prior to the Lutz family moving in.
It's a good move. It's a good movie. Well, it is a good movie. It's a good murder story,
It is a very sad story.
but a good murder story. If I read it in a book, I would be enthralled.
So on the evening of November 13th, 1974, Ron DeFeo Jr. took the lives of his two sisters, Dawn and Allison, his two brothers, Mark and John, his mother, Louise, and his father, Ron DeFeo Sr. He was later convicted of his crimes and sentenced to 6 life sentences. And that is
Do you
all
know
I'm
what
going
the-
to.
Do you know what the motive was for this? I can't remember if it
There
was in the
are a
movie
lot
or
of
not.
theories, which I could tell you about later, because the true crime story can be a whole different story for a different day. There's so much to it.
I didn't know if the motive was relevant to the haunting.
I mean, I can bring it up a little later because at one point, Ron DeFeo Jr. was trying to claim that he was possessed. He was going
The good old possession in court.
Yeah.
Frankie, how does that hold up? How many times has possession been brought up in courts? Do you know?
I don't know how many times it's been brought up, but I can tell you how often it's succeeded.
0.
None.
Yeah, never.
That kind of leans into the haunter hoax because he's the killer only started saying that after the haunting story became big news. So that is a lovely little tidbit. But here's a kind of fun fact. Frankie,
Kind of fun.
it's fun for us, but Frankie shares a name with DeFeo's defense lawyer.
Fuck that guy. What a piece of shit that guy was.
Why was he a piece of shit?
Look up William Weber and you will see the most.
Let me look this up. Hold on.
He looks like he works for the mob.
He looks like he works for the mob. He was, to be fair, there wasn't much to work on as a defense attorney. So I can't judge his defense attorney skills with this case because, let's be honest, the evidence is overwhelming.
Yeah.
But when all the stuff about the haunting came out and the book deals and stuff started getting made, he tried to create a business to do that and take the money away from all of the family that actually lived in the house.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to talk about Weber a little later on in the show.
Fucking sucks.
Hold on. I see. I'm pulled up this guy. It says, family of William Weber still searching for missing 92-year-old.
I don't think that's the right.
How about you look up William Weber DeFeo lawyer?
Okay, that might.
Look up William Weber Amityville.
Or that
Ooh.
works too.
Okay, yeah. Oh God, Frankie, if you ever look like this when you get older, I'm gonna accuse you of some things.
You're gonna accuse me of some things?
Yeah, like being in the mob, having dead bodies buried under your floorboard. That's what this guy looks like.
That's true. He's not like a good looking dude.
No, he's not.
By that I mean I don't want to insult him. Maybe someone does think he's attractive. I just want to say he's not a trustworthy looking dude.
He looks slimy.
I'll insult him. Mom, do you think this man is an attractive man? Hold on, let me.
If
You
I
see?
was casting someone
No,
to play
no,
a mob attorney in a movie,
it would be him. Yeah,
it'd be
Mhm.
him.
it's
Yes.
pretty good.
He is he is the archetype for that.
He looks like he eats a bunch of like spaghetti and pasta, and he does the whole on the day of my daughter's wedding.
What was that accent?
I think I was trying to Godfather it, and I'm Italian, so I'm a little upset at myself. So let's not bring it up.
Should we move on to the spooky, scary story?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll save Amanda.
Mhm.
thank you.
So the story I am about to tell everyone comes straight from the Amityville Horror by Jay Anson. I bought a copy of the book specifically for this episode, and I read it. And everything I'm about to tell you comes from the pages of that book.
You bought it, or did you
Mhm.
find it online? Like I find everything online.
I paid $7 from a used bookstore.
Ah,
Go to your used bookstore. This is a PSA. Go to your used bookstore.
We have
Get some books.
Frankie, what's the bookstore that you always take me to? The chain.
Half price books.
Yeah. Do you know how many comic book things I found? And cookbooks. The last time we went there, Frankie had to carry like a whole bunch of books. It was a lot of fun for me. I don't know about him. Actually, you
Bookstores are
find a lot of
fun.
video games there.
I do. I like that Amanda brought up cookbooks. She doesn't cook.
Why are we picking on me? Hey, you know, one of these days I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna subscribe to that HelloFresh.
That's
Not a
not
sponsor.
all right.
HelloFresh, please sponsor us.
Sponsor us. But yeah, I'm gonna subscribe and I'm gonna see if I can cook with that.
Half price
Is it-
books.
They teach you
Also
how to cook.
sponsor us.
Mm-hmm.
I would love if Half Price Books sponsored us.
I have a book blog. I'll write reviews. You can give me books and I'll write reviews on them.
I just want your comic books. That's all I want. And maybe some cookbooks, even though I don't cook. I got a lot of dessert cookbooks. I got 2 Asian cookbooks. Anyway, continue the spooky.
Yes, now that we've made that pit stop at the bookstore, let's go to our spooky Long Island house. George and Kathy Lutz moved into 112 Ocean Avenue on December 18th, 1975. 28 days later, they fled in terror. George and Kathy were married in July of 1975. George was now the stepfather to Kathy's 3 children from her previous marriage. So you have her oldest son, Daniel, age 9, her middle son, Chris, age 7, and Melissa, aka Missy, age 5. There's also the family dog, Harry, who is a 10 out of 10 good boy. George and Kathy wanted a fresh start for their blended family, so they went house hunting. Enter 112 Ocean Avenue, a 6-bedroom Dutch colonial with a spacious living room, a formal dining room, an enclosed porch, 3.5 baths, and a finished basement, a two-car garage, a heated swimming pool, and a large boathouse. The
That
asking
probably
price.
costs like an arm and a leg.
How
how
much
much-
do you think it costs?
Ooh.
Back then,
75,000.
Either back then. So we're in the mid 1970s.
So 75,000.
I'm gonna go.
75,000.
I'm gonna go with 65,000. Knock $10,000 off for the brutal murders that occurred there.
You two aren't that far off. Amanda would win if this was Price is Right rules.
Oh,
Fuck
because
yeah,
it
fuck
It
off,
was
Frankie.
only 80 grand.
I should have done 75,001. Damn
You
it.
should have. Yes, it only cost 80 grand. And at first, the family thought there was a typo. They thought there had to be a 1 before the 8. But 80 grand was the listing price for this 6-bedroom house.
Because of the brutal, brutal murders.
Correct. But they were not aware of the tragedy that occurred just the year prior. They were told.
Isn't that wait a minute. Wasn't that-
Incorrect. You're wrong what you're about to say. You do not have to disclose that brutal murders have taken place inside of a house.
It
What?
depends on
You
the state.
don't?
Generally, yeah, it does depend on state, but generally the common law principle is no, you do not have to disclose that a brutal murder has taken place in the house you're selling.
What about the moral implication? Well, real estate agents.
Well, the real estate agent did tell George and Kathy about what had occurred just the year prior. They were informed that this house was the scene of a major crime. But for 80 grand, they said, we don't care, we're buying it.
I'd buy
To
it
be-
too. Fuck for
yeah,
80
to be
grand.
fair, me too.
I'm like, cries in 2024 house market.
To be fair, you know, even now, if I can get like just 20,000 off for a murder house, I'll do it. I'll hang out with the little ghosts. We'll be best
the ghosts
buddies.
are
I'll give
gonna
them the
be my
Wi-Fi
friends.
password. Ghosts never ask for the Wi-Fi password. We should just give them Wi-Fi passwords.
They have to contribute though if they want to stay. I'm not letting those freeloaders stay.
What do you want them to do? Make tea for you or something?
Pay some rent. Get a job.
What are they gonna do?
Wow.
What are ghosts gonna do? What kind of job do ghosts do?
I don't know. We'll find something.
What are they gonna do? Pretend to be Bloody Mary?
Security guard. Imagine you're robbing a bank and then a ghost just pops up.
I'd continue to rob the bank.
Would you?
To be
What
fair,
is
I
the
don't think I'd
ghost gonna
ever rob a
do?
bank. Yeah, what's the ghost gonna do? Can the ghost like
The
actually
ghost could
rescue?
the ghost could escape and then tell someone, "Hey, the bank's being robbed."
Yeah, but is he gonna get paid for being a snitch? Do snitches get paid?
That's what security guards are. They're snitches.
I'm glad we're all on the same page of moving into this $80,000 house.
Yeah. I would say you're stupid to not. And I think these people are stupid for leaving.
I don't know.
Suck it
You'll
up.
have to tell me at the end of their 28 days what you think
Suck
about
I
everything
already
that
know a
happened.
lot about Amityville. Suck it up, babies, but continue telling me anyway.
So obviously, the Lutz family moved into the house. They moved in on December 18th, and that same day, a priest was coming over to bless the house. In the book, the priest is known as Father Mancuso, though that is not his real name. He is a reoccurring character and will come up a few times throughout our story.
Is he gonna be like the priest that we saw in Exorcist Believer, where he like comes in and then just gets like murked
He
as
doesn't
soon as
get
he comes in?
Father Mancuso does not get murked.
Damn it, Frankie.
Prior to blessing the Lutz's new family home, Father Mancuso had gone to lunch with a group of friends, and when he was there, he told his friends about the house he was going to after lunch. His friends told him not to go. He didn't listen to his friends, and he did proceed to go bless the house. And upon entering
Well, he had a
112
job to do.
yeah, he went to do his job. Correct. But during his blessing, he heard a masculine voice, clear as day, from behind him say, "Get out." No one else was there. George
The-
Lutz,
Was the
nowhere to
dog
be
there?
seen.
Was the dog there?
Dog was not there at the time. There was literally no one there.
You said this priest was hanging out with his friends. Are we sure this priest wasn't just drunk or hungover?
Didn't have a little bit of that sacramental wine before he stopped by.
Yeah. What was this priest doing?
At lunch at a diner, I believe.
It is Long
Di-
Island. They might have alcohol at that diner.
Diners have alcohol in New York and New Jersey. I say this as a diner goer. It's my favorite place to go after K-pop concerts.
Back to our story. At
Yes.
3:15 a.m. on December 19th, George Lutz was awoken by a loud rapping sound. He, upon realizing the sound was coming from upstairs on the third floor where the two boys slept, simply wrote the noise off as coming from the sleeping kids.
Damn,
believe-
I'm really disappointed in myself that I'm so slow tonight. I had a great joke and I missed the opportunity. I just wanted to be shamed.
Go back.
Do you want to say the joke?
Can you just say he heard a rapping sound again? Can you do that sentence?
At 3:15 a.m. on December 19th, George Lutz was awoken by a loud rapping sound.
And he told Drake and Kendrick to stop their beef.
I thought it was gonna be
It was
R.
going to be
Kelly
Poe.
trapped in the. Thought it was gonna be R. Kelly trapped in the closet.
Nah, I've been listening to a lot of Kendrick's tracks, and they're good, but
To be fair, Kendrick Lamar kicks Drake's ass every time. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but
no, I don't think there's a hot
I'll say
take
it.
here. But yeah, I was too slow to say it. Hannah, I apologize. You can continue.
It was good. It's really good.
It was a good joke. And hopefully it's still relevant when this goes live.
We'll find
George
out.
Lutz, we will find out. George Lutz believed that one of the children must have dropped something from their beds in their sleep. So he wrote off the noise. But as he was going to go back to sleep, it's when he looked out the window of the second floor sewing room. There was a shadow near the boathouse. Someone or something was on the property. At least that's what George thought. Upon reaching the boathouse, he discovered absolutely nothing. Well, I
Wait,
shouldn't say
wait. This guy was sleeping previously.
He woke up because he heard a rapping noise coming from the third floor.
Okay. So are we sure he wasn't just like, sleepy still? Crusties in his eyes, whatever. So when he looked out the window, he's like, oh, a person. And then in reality, it was just like a tree with a leaf that just looks suspiciously like a person.
When I have crusties in my eyes, I don't see people though.
I definitely have to do double takes, especially in the shadows. I'm like, oh, is that a person? Oh no, that's just a shadowy thing. Or it's how my stuffed animals look whenever they're all like piled up together.
But you are aware that those are stuffed animals.
It takes me a minute.
Now, I shouldn't say that George found nothing. The boathouse door was wide open and swinging in the wind, even though George was convinced he had locked the door before he had went to sleep that night.
To be fair, you were convinced you took your dog's leash off, and me and Frankie are both convinced that that did not happen.
I did not take Truffles' harness off. It was a glitch in the matrix.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a glitch in the matrix happen to you, Amanda, I'm going to tell you it didn't happen and make you feel crazy.
It's okay, because I'm never going to have a glitch in the matrix happen, because I'm going to recognize that
The
Between
door was
December-
open.
Yeah, the door to the boathouse is open. You know, George is convinced that he closed and locked it, but it had been moving day, so you know. Can you really remember everything you did?
As somebody who just moved in, no.
Okay, cool. Let's continue with our story.
She remembers going to the ER.
Well, I would hope so. Between December 19th and the 21st, the whole family went through personality changes. George was the one who was most affected. His relationships with Kathy and the kids became strange. They became strained. I speak English well, I promise. He viewed the kids as, and I quote, misbehaved monsters and brats.
To be fair, all kids are.
These are children who are all under the age of 10, so I'm sure
Yeah.
they were being kids.
I'm sure they were doing something
Mhm.
Yeah. I
that
don't
they weren't
think,
supposed to be doing.
yeah, I don't think this was just like we can chalk this up to personality changes. I think we can chalk this up to the stress of moving on top of now having to be a stepfather to these 3 kids that aren't yours. And all of these kids are under the age of 10. That sounds like a recipe for disaster, and it's going to breed some resentment. Plus, fuck those kids.
George also stopped shaving and showering, and after moving in to 112 Ocean Avenue, he didn't shave or shower for a week.
That is called depression.
He hadn't been to work since before the move, and when questioned by anyone about returning, he didn't have an answer. In the book, it says he was devoted to his business, but now it seemed like he didn't care. All he did was complain about the house being freezing cold, and all he wanted to do was keep a large fire going in the fireplace.
Depression. How old was this man?
I believe he was in his 20s.
I was going to say midlife crisis, but okay,
Mm-hmm.
not. So,
no, this is a very young couple.
So depression.
I think
Depression
stress from moving and major life choice changes.
Equals
Stress.
and depression. Thank you. Yeah, depression, wanting to isolate, wanting to stay at your home, which is like this comfy spot. But if your home's not comfy, i.e. the temperature or whatever, you're going to want to do whatever you can and harp on the fact that you want to make this home comfy so that you can isolate in comfort.
Well, as I said, everyone in the family underwent changes to their personalities. Kathy also felt the strain on her familial relationships, and she and George on December 21st beat their children, which is something they had never done before. That is, according to the book, the children later on in life would say in interviews that this was a lie and that they had been beaten or spanked before by George and Kathy.
Oh, that's worse.
What did they do?
That's not the lie that I thought was gonna be. I thought the lie was gonna be they didn't beat us.
What did they do to get beat? And what was the beating? Like, was it actually beating or was it like spanking?
I think it was spanking, but like spanking with like a wooden spoon or a belt is what the book said, I believe.
Oh, yeah. Not cool. I got spanked once and I didn't do it again. And it was a very gentle spank. And it wasn't even by you, I don't think. Did they say why they beat their kids?
So it was just the children were misbehaving more.
Again,
They just moved.
they just moved
Mhm.
to a new place.
It is.
Yeah, kids are going to act up. Even if like they didn't move schools or anything, that's still a huge life change. I mean, look at our cats. Our cats are tiptoeing around. They're freaking out. This was the 70s, so I understand why they didn't understand, child development. But fuck these parents.
On December 22nd, things begin to ramp up. Kathy was sitting in the kitchen when she felt someone come up behind her and embrace her. But no one else was in the room with her. She was initially startled by the touch, but later said she felt comforted by the feeling. She said that she felt this touch was that of another woman trying to comfort her.
Ah, the old lesbian ghost.
Not even moments after this occurred, her children called her up to the second floor. The toilet bowl was solid black. The toilet itself was not a black toilet. It was like your traditional white porcelain. And just the day before, Kathy had scrubbed all the bathrooms down. Like she had deep cleaned all these bathrooms with bleach and Lysol and all that good stuff. Nothing was wrong with the water or pipes. Water was coming out clear, and the bathtub and sink weren't black. The inside of the toilet bowl was the only thing mysteriously stained black.
2 things.
Yes.
1.
Somebody took a dump.
That's a
Is your poop black?
Hey, Hannah.
Sometime they had a for Halloween they had a 0 sugar Fanta that was black
Okay.
for the holidays. That made my
and
poop black. So
Yeah,
They kept that from Halloween till Christmas.
There are kids,
yeah.
there are kids vitamins that will turn your feces black as well.
You trying to be all professional. Feces.
They're shit. What do you want? What do you want from me? My second thing, maybe the kids were pissed off about being spanked and they were like, you know what? Let's freak mom out a little bit and
Turn the toilet black.
turn the toilet black.
They took their Mr. Sharpie markers.
Duh. That's what I would do. Actually, I'd probably take Posca paint pens.
Yeah, that's too
Have you-
much. I wouldn't do that. I don't think these kids did that. That's gross. That's disgusting.
What are you talking about? Too much work. Do you think about this? Think about this.
I'm not putting my hand inside a toilet.
Hey, toilet pranks are some of the best pranks ever. My favorite prank I've ever played on my father. You know those poppers that you throw on the ground?
Yes.
Okay, I put them underneath the toilet seat lid, so when he sat down.
But that's still not putting your hand. That's still not putting your hand in the toilet.
I'm just saying, some
To
of the
be
best
fair-
pranks are toilet pranks.
And to be fair, this was a very clean toilet. It had been bleached thoroughly the day before.
Yeah,
This is
Frankie.
This is the 70s. I don't think you can bleach it that well.
I bet you could. I bet you could.
What are you talking about? In the 70s, they had all kinds of really good chemicals that aren't allowed nowadays.
Yeah, the kind that give you cancer just by opening it.
So Kathy had her middle child, Chris, go get cleaning supplies from under the master bathroom sink. Chris then discovered that the master bathroom's toilet was also black and there was an odor in the room.
So it's shit.
No. The master bedroom smelled like, as Kathy said, a sweet but cheap perfume, but this was still not the odor Chris was talking about. The bathroom smelled like death. It smells like a dead rat, to quote the book.
So somebody shit.
He ate a dead rat and then shit.
No, somebody just shit. It smelled really bad, and to cover it up, they used some cheap ass perfume. This all
Shit
sounds
does not
completely-
smell like a rotting corpse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if that's what your shit smells like, I think there's more problems. You should get something
You
checked
might want
out.
to go back to the ER.
Yeah. Even on my worst days, it's not smelled like death.
I don't think these people know what death smells like.
After 3 kids, I think they know what shit smells like, though.
That's fair.
I don't know. I don't know. There could be a lot of things. Long Island probably doesn't smell that great either.
Why are you going after New York?
Um,
What do people of New York ever do to you?
You know what? You know what? This has upset me for far too long. I like Long Island iced teas. I will drink them as much as the next person. There's no fucking tea in Long Island iced tea. I feel lied to. Fuck Long Island. Don't call it Long Island iced tea. There's no tea in it. It's just liquors.
Kathy calls George upstairs, and the pair began airing out the smell of death. George goes to the sewing room to open up those windows, and in the sewing room are hundreds of flies. Now remember, it's mid-December. Flies aren't out in mid-December. It's far too cold.
I'm sorry, Frankie, you've been to my house in December.
There's a noticeable lack of flies.
There's still flies, though.
But you also have a ton of cats.
Flies. They're not flies.
Were these fruit flies or fly flies?
They were fly.
These were not fruit flies. They were flies you see outside in the summer buzzing around your head to annoy you.
So fly flies.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you had to say.
You're the one who brought up, I have flies in my house in mid-December.
I did. They were fruit flies.
They're different species.
Hannah didn't specify. She just said fly. I was
Well,
checking.
when people say flies, they mean flies, not fruit flies.
That is not true.
George kills most of the flies. Or
How?
No,
What?
no, sorry, strike that, reverse it. George,
No, he
George
kills all of the
shoos-
flies.
No, he shoos as many out as he can and kills the rest.
Okay.
How did he kill the rest of them? Did he just get like some aerosol, like,
He
Of
found a
fly
couple
water.
frogs.
and just
He
light that
hung
aerosol on
those
fire?
wax strips up all around the room. In the early morning hours of December 23rd, the front door of the house was basically ripped open and forced off its frame. The door that was previously closed and locked was now destroyed, and the doorknob looked like it had been pried open.
What was the point of prying the doorknob open if you're just gonna rip the door off its hinges?
I don't know, ask the ghosts.
Hey,
will.
you know, it's a nice house. They probably got burglarized.
But nothing was stolen.
Maybe
Correct,
because the
nothing was
door.
stolen.
Well, you know, if I break a door off of its hinges, I'm gonna get worried that somebody heard that. So just like abandon ship.
So what you're saying is they were burglarized, but they weren't burglarized.
I'm saying
Because the
that
burglar
they
made
were.
too much noise.
It was an attempted burglary. It was a B&E,
Okay.
but they forgot the E part, or they abandoned the E part.
Later that same day, Kathy would smell a sour odor emanating from the closet in the master bedroom. The closet was empty, save for one thing, a now upside-down crucifix.
No. Go back.
Would you like me to tell you about the sour odor again?
Yeah, go back.
What room was that? What room was
The
this?
master bedroom.
Okay. The room was empty?
The closet in the
Oh,
master bedroom.
Okay.
It's now Christmas Eve, December 24th. Father Mancuso suddenly has a premonition. It was about the Lutz's home, specifically the sewing room. Evil. Just evil. That's all Father Mancuso could think. How that room was evil and how he needed to call the Lutz family and warn them about their house. I do want to
On
know.
Christmas Eve?
On Christmas Eve, he has a premonition, and it's about the sewing room in 112 Ocean Avenue.
Fuck you. Call me on the 26th.
I want to briefly note that at this time, Father Mancuso was ill. He had a fever of about 104, and the book links his illness to the house. He would be sick on and off again for the 28 days the Lutz family lived at 112 Ocean Avenue, and he would become sicker the more involved he was with the family.
I can tell you why he was more sick. He was overexerting himself. You
Or
shouldn't do that when you have a flu.
or mold.
You gotta rest.
Or mold.
Yeah, but no one else was sick.
Father
Yeah,
Mancuso
he was
would call the
older,
family.
right?
Yes, he is older, yes.
Yeah, more susceptible to mold. Take that, Franklin.
So we agree he's sick. He's sick and he should probably rest.
Well, you shouldn't be calling people on Christmas Eve if he's sick.
Well,
Yeah.
he does. He calls them on Christmas Eve and tries to warn them. But during this phone call, the line went dead. There was static and neither party could get a call through to the other. Interestingly, though, the phone still technically worked. Kathy could call her family. George could call work. The family was able to receive calls. Father Mancuso could still call people as well. The two parties could not call each other.
That sounds like some BS. Yeah, that sounds like some BS.
Well, we now move to the morning of December 25th. At exactly 3:15 in the morning, Kathy wakes up screaming. She was screaming out details of the DeFeo murders that the public didn't know. December 25th was also the day the youngest child, Missy, introduced the family to her imaginary friend, Jody. Jody was a pig who lived in the sewing room.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It gets better because the kids had been told to stay out of the sewing room, and Jody told Missy the reason why was because of him. That's not
Why weren't they
freaky.
why weren't they allowed in the sewing room?
Because the windows in there would keep opening, and there was all the flies. So they said, just stay out of the sewing room. Also, that's your mom's sewing room. Just stay out of your mom's room.
No, kids don't listen about that shit. They should know better. You tell a kid that a room is off limits, that's all they're gonna want to do is go in that room.
That is a fair point.
Thank you. I make a lot of those.
Sure. To end the day, Kathy and George discovered the third floor playroom was freezing cold. The boys' room was also on the third floor, and it was comfortable. The radiator in the playroom was on and was hot to the touch, but the room was bitterly cold. We now move on to December 26th. Kathy is once again in the kitchen when she smells that cheap, sweet perfume. She is alone again, yet she feels a body pressing up against her. It was a light pressure, and it was around her waist. At first, she felt reassured by the touch, but the longer it went on, the scareder she got. The embrace got tighter, and the perfume smell got stronger. Now, December 26th was supposed to be a wonderful day. Kathy's brother was getting married. Jimmy, Kathy's brother, was to drive to the house that evening to pick the family up for the wedding. He was due to arrive at 5:30. He arrived on time, and with him, he brought $1,500. That money was to go to the catering of the wedding. But the money somehow got lost in the house. It had been in his coat pocket, and he realized it was gone before they left for the wedding. But that $1,500 was never found, despite everyone in the home searching for it. At the wedding, which was a traditional Catholic wedding, by the way, George felt sick. Got very sick when he was given the communion wafer. He got nauseous, and when he was given the wine, he felt dizzy and almost went down. After the ceremony, he threw up. But note that he didn't feel sick at any other point that day. He wasn't sick after the wedding. He was only sick after the wedding ceremony, but once he threw up, he was fine. Reception, totally fine. And it wasn't food poisoning because no one else got sick.
Coming from somebody who, was raised Catholic, those communion wafers do not taste good. I can understand feeling nauseous. The wine is also shit wine. If that is what if that's what the kind of wine that's my blood or whatever tastes like, I'll just get some barefoot. Okay, I'm not going to subject people to that.
But no one else got sick from it.
Okay, so it was more of a dry wine, and he's a sweet wine kind of guy. It's okay. Happens.
The day is now December 27th. Kathy, during her sleep, learned a fact about the DeFeo family that she shouldn't have known. This time, it was about Louise DeFeo, about how she cheated on her husband. This fact was later confirmed by a family friend of the DeFeos weeks after the Lutz family fled. Later that day, George found a secret room in the basement. It was in a closet, and he found it because it smelled of blood. It also was painted bright red.
That's fucking cool.
Maybe not the smell so much.
The secret room, come on. And you only found it because you smelled blood. That's like storybook-esque. It's pretty good. It's good.
It's now December 28th. We're 10 days in, and Kathy is convinced that a large ceramic tiger the family had moved towards her. That evening, the tiger statue that was in a corner of the living room suddenly found its way to the center of the room. George did not notice it as he went to add wood to the fireplace. He tripped over it and face planted into the wood pile. He twisted his ankle, and he had a cut over his right eye. One injury that cannot be explained from the incident is that of a clear bite mark on his ankle. The lion was then moved to the sewing room.
That's just kinky. They're kinky in bed.
Well, let's jump forward a few days. It's
Ankles
now New
are
Year's
sexy.
Eve.
We've talked about this. Haven't we?
Are you
I've
saying
talked about it.
Kathy is a vampire?
I'm saying that ankles are sexy and it's a good place to bite.
Well, we're moving on to New Year's Eve.
Okay.
Times Square ball has just dropped, and the whole Lutz family is gathered in the living room. And there's a roaring fire in the fireplace.
So George is happy.
Yeah,
He's very happy about that.
yeah. Suddenly, a figure is materializing in the flames of the fire.
Ah, Esmeralda from the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
I wish that would have been a better thing to see. But no.
Mom said Sirius Black. That was good too. That was good, Mom.
Well, Kathy sees neither of those things. Kathy sees the face of a demon with horns and a white peaked hood on its head. It was getting larger, moving towards her.
So Frollo.
Yes.
Gotcha.
She screams and points to it. George then sees it too. There was a large accumulation of soot in the back of the fireplace from the constant fires George had going since they moved in. And in this soot and onto the bricks behind it, the figure burned an image of itself.
This just sounds like a case of folia do.
Is that where you see images in things?
No, it's a shared delusion.
Oh, okay. Somehow, the family went to bed after the demon fire incident.
What do you mean
George
somehow?
and-
That's exhausting. I'd be tired too.
You're just gonna crash.
Frankie looks at the fireplace. He sees a face. He's like, "Oh man, I'm tired."
That's a problem for a future me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's future Frankie.
I stayed up till midnight on New Year's Eve. I'm tired.
You stay up until midnight on New Year's Eve still? You're 27.
I usually don't now, but like back then, if I was staying up till midnight,
Absolutely not. No.
I'd be as a
I'm
kid.
in bed by 9.
As a kid,
on
I'd
New
be
Year's.
tired, and then you're like, you see a demon and you stayed up till midnight. Nah, I'm tired. I'm going to bed. I'll worry about that. That's a New Year problem.
Gotcha.
So it's January 1st officially. George and Kathy are asleep in their room when they are awoken by a freezing cold breeze. Most of the doors and windows of the second floor are wide open. The door and windows of Missy's room are still closed, though. So they go in to check on her, obviously, and she's safe and sound asleep in her bed. All is well. Then Kathy looks at the little rocking chair in the room and realizes it's moving on its own. They
Did
grab
you not
Missy.
check the boys' room? What were the boys doing? The boys played a trick.
They're up on the 3rd floor.
Don't care. They played a trick. You didn't check on them, so played a trick.
Okay. Well, they grab Missy, and the 3 sleep downstairs. We now
I would
move on
be-
to.
I would be so pissed off. I'd be pissed off that I'm sleeping perfectly soundly. My parents wake me up because they're freaking out about something. I would be so pissed off. Like, no, I want to sleep in my bed. I don't want to sleep on the goddamn couch.
We now move to the evening of January 1st. It's 10 p.m. Kathy is looking out the living room window and she sees a pair of unblinking red eyes staring back at her. George runs outside to find whatever or whoever's there. It had snowed this day, and in the snow was a set of hoof prints to be exact. Cloven hoof prints, like that of a
Santa
pig.
was a little late that year.
It's
Santa
Krampus.
was also a pig.
Well, reindeer have cloven hoof prints too.
Ooh, that's good. That's good.
What, we're not talking about Krampus?
No, because I think Krampus is usually very on time. I'm pretty sure.
He
Santa
comes
seems
before
like he's,
Santa.
yeah, he comes before Santa. So I think Santa might have been a little lazy that year.
The Lutz
don't know,
family
it was the
moved and they didn't
70s.
forward their new address to Santa.
Yeah.
That's fair. You know what? I can buy that. Because Santa's totally real.
So the next morning, George went back outside to investigate the tracks. They were still there, and he found that they went all the way past the family dog's doghouse. Harry slept outside and never once barked at any intruder.
I was getting really scared that Harry was gonna be like, he walks over to the doghouse and he just finds a pool of blood.
No. I spoil something. Harry survives the haunted house. So we can all release that breath we're holding.
Yeah,
Harry's fine.
good.
He
I
lived
would
a
have been
good long life.
I would have been quite upset with you, Hannah, if you bring that shit into this story.
If there's one thing about me, I'm not gonna bring you animal cruelty.
Yeah, unlike Frankie.
I didn't
Horrible
bring
story.
I didn't bring you animal cruelty. That animal cruelty brought to you by Tarar.
Man ate a
Wait.
baby.
Allegedly.
Yeah, we don't know he ate a baby.
I'm more upset about the cat.
He was accused of eating a baby.
Toddler.
He did eat a cat and a puppy.
That's all true. Yes.
Fuck that dude.
Fuck that. You know what? I hope Satan is fucking him in the ass with his pitchfork. Him and Hitler while they're burning in hell. If that wasn't clear enough.
Yeah, we got that. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
So Harry is fine. Harry
Okay.
did not once bark at any intruder. And as George is back there, he discovers that the garage door has been torn off its metal frame.
Oh my
George had
God.
locked and closed the door the night prior.
These ghosts have no respect for personal property.
No, they will basically rip and break every window and door in the house before this 28 days has passed. So we're still on January 2nd. George had to leave for work, and that afternoon, Kathy was changing the sheets in the master bedroom. She's alone in the room once again when she's embraced from behind. It was a tight embrace and nothing like the one she had felt in the kitchen before. There was also another pressure, this time on her wrists. The forces pulled her to the bed and she passed out. That evening, the family tried to call Father Mancuso for help. They initially got through to him, but the call got disconnected. Father Mancuso had been asked by the family to return to the house and help them, but he refused to return. Even
He's-
after
That leads me to believe whenever the
He's
call was
out.
disconnected.
He hung up that time.
Yeah. I just imagine he was like crinkling some paper, like, oh, I'm losing you. Oh.
I'm going through a tunnel.
Yeah, that's what I imagine.
Well, even after he refusing to go to the Lutz home, the entity made Father Mancuso's room in the rectory smell like shit.
That wasn't an entity. That was them. We knew you hung up on us, so we're gonna make you suffer.
Fun fact, the smell of human shit is linked to the devil.
Yeah,
Why?
because nobody likes the smell of shit, Hannah.
No, no one does.
If we're gonna put a negative or a positive, right? We put all of our positives on God in heaven. We put all of our negatives on the devil and shit. I
What
feel like
negative is knowing that Hitler is burning and all the serial killers are burning? That's a positive.
it is a negative because that's where they're hanging out. Would you want to hang out in hell? Nah, negative. Also, do you like the smell of shit? Nah, negative.
Well, speaking of smelly shit, George Lutz was smelling of fuel oil coming up from the basement. It was coming from that secret room he had found. Then that smell turned to shit.
Are we sure they didn't just have like sewer problems?
No sewer problems were recorded.
Okay. There's no sewer problems recorded in Bloomfield, and every morning when I woke up in Bloomfield, I smelled sewer shit. That was how the morning greeted me. I'm so glad I don't have to deal with that anymore.
How do you know there were none reported?
Because that was my street.
Oh, hang
Yeah,
on.
but
I
like-
gotta mute.
But like, did you go around to every house and go, "Hey, did you report the smell?"
I think we called like early on when we moved in there, and they were like, "Oh no, nobody's called and said anything about it."
It was just normal.
Yeah, apparently Pittsburgh smells like shit. Does it smell like shit where you work, Franklin?
No.
Oh, look at you.
I hope everyone enjoyed hearing Truffles and Waffles say hello.
I didn't even hear them. I was too busy
You
talking about
didn't?
shit.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Did you hear him, Frankie?
Not at all.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, they were just barking and being insane, so they say hello. It's at
Anyway,
this point that George and
room-
Kathy sit down to discuss what was going on in their home. They were beginning to think about allowing a paranormal investigator to come in. As they were having this conversation, they realized something. That ceramic lion that they put in the sewing room was now back in the living room, and it was snarling at them.
That is a kid 100% playing a prank on them.
Well, no, the face fully changed.
No, it didn't.
That's what they say.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah. And I can see the future. I'm like Raven Simone 2.0.
The
Means
lion gets
nothing.
thrown away.
And I bet you it comes back.
It does not.
Oh.
I hate to spoil that.
You were so confident.
That's what happens in horror movies. You throw it away.
This
and
isn't
then-
a horror movie, Amanda. This is real life, all right?
Shut up.
It's now January 3rd. It's 3:15 in the morning. George is awoken by a marching band playing in his living room, though there
That's
was
good.
nothing in the house.
That's good. That's also probably a dream.
Well, it gets worse if it's a dream, because when he comes back upstairs, Kathy is levitating 2 feet off the bed.
Sure she is.
George is woken up by a marching band the next morning, too. This time, when he went to investigate, he found all the living room furniture moved. It appeared all the furniture had been moved to allow room for dancing or a marching band to perform.
Well,
My
they have to have
question-
room.
My question, the kids. Do the kids corroborate any of this shit?
I will talk about the kids in a little later,
Okay.
because when they became adults, they kind of spoke out about what happened in the house.
Okay, cool.
It's now January 6th. In the afternoon, Missy takes the dog up.
Hey!
Yes, it's Amanda's birthday.
Yeah. I wasn't born
Oh.
yet.
A day
weren't.
notorious for nothing bad ever happening.
Nothing
Shut up.
happened in the early 2020s.
I hate both of you. Why would you bring that up? Do you know my birthday's ruined now? Way to go, insurrection. That was a fun birthday for me, by the way. Getting a text from my dad. Did you see what Trump's doing? Isn't it awesome? No. No,
Fun
it's not.
story. When January 6th happened, I was at work and I was working in a retail store. No, we don't know what the fuck is going on. Me and my coworker. I take my break and have lunch and check Twitter, and it's like the world imploded. And I walk in to Twitter and see everything going down. And I tweeted an image of that one reaction picture where it's the dude holding the pizza boxes and he comes back to his apartment on fire and his friends doing a bunch of crazy shit.
Oh, from
And
Community, yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly how I felt hearing about January 6th.
Yeah, it was a rough time.
Back to 1970 something. In the afternoon of January 6th, Missy takes the dog Harry up to her room. He does not want to go upstairs. He freaks out. He is an anxious, unsettled mess, and he did not want to be in Missy's room. He hid under the child's bed until one of the boys comes and gets him. The dog happily ran out of the room and remained on the 3rd floor for the rest of the day. I don't know about you guys, but when an animal is freaked out, I listen. When an animal does not like someone, I listen.
If that were the case, Raceball doesn't like anybody, so technically I wouldn't even like myself or you, or frankly, especially you, Hannah.
I traumatize that poor cat, and I apologize every time I see her.
You do.
In the early morning hours of January 7th, George wakes up to Kathy once again levitating. He pulls her down, and when she's on the bed, George gets a good look at her. She now has the face of a 90-year-old woman. George screams, and Kathy wakes up. When she looks in the mirror, she's not 90, but she has deep black lines running up and down her face. There were 3 on each cheek, extending from just below her eyes down to just under her jawline. By dawn, the lines were gone from her face. That evening, one of George's employees comes to the house with his girlfriend, who just so happens to be a medium. This
Convenient.
This young woman's name is Francine, and in the house, she finds cold spots, foul odors, She manages to identify 2 spirits in the house, one man and one woman who died like 100 years ago, like well before the Lutz, or well before the DeFeo family tragedy. She claims people are buried under the house. She hates the basement. She won't go upstairs. And when she goes upstairs, excuse me, when she goes up to the second floor, she does pick up on the DeFeo murders, and she tells George and Kathy to get the house exorcised. There's a lot going on. On January 9th, Kathy's brother and new sister-in-law come to spend the night. They're going to be staying in Missy's room, and at 3:15 in the morning, the sister-in-law wakes up screaming. She swears something was sitting at the end of the bed and touched her foot. She also says it was a little boy, and it talked to her, asking where Missy and Jody were. After this experience, George and Kathy decide to bless the house themselves. Whatever spirits were there did not like this and made a cacophony of noise until they stopped the blessing. The next day, Chris and Dan found green slime running down the walls in the 3rd floor hallway.
Good
George
old
ate some.
them from Ghostbusters. That's what that is.
Yeah, and George ate some.
Of course.
Why?
Just throwing that out there.
Why
He
did
ate
he
some.
eat it? What was his reasoning, Hannah?
I think it said he wanted to make sure it wasn't like a jelly or something.
Yeah, because that's what I'm gonna do. If I see shit leaking out of the walls, the first thing I'm gonna do is be like, let me taste that.
I feel like that's a very man thing to do.
Frankie,
I
as
would
the only man,
smell it. I don't think I would eat it.
I would smell
He
it.
admits to getting close to it.
You would smell it. This guy ate ectoplasm that was like green slime that was leaking from the wall. Hannah said that's a very man thing to do. I asked Frankie. Frankie said he would smell it. I would smell it as well, I think.
What would your dad do?
My father?
Mm-hmm.
He would
Because mine would definitely eat it.
Mine would not eat it. Mine would probably. My dad's a big baby.
Wait, here's the thing. You described it as slime, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't even put it on my fingers. I don't want my hands to be. I don't like being sticky.
Yeah. My dad would call me and tell me to take care of it. He doesn't like he couldn't even when he was teaching me how to fish, I had to hook my own worm because he couldn't even touch the worm.
Why did he take you fishing then?
Oh, we have a lake house.
On January 9th, the whole family slept together in the same room as George and Kathy found their kids freezing to death in their beds, despite it being 75 degrees in the house with the radiators and fireplace going.
Why was the radiator on at 75 degrees?
That's what was making it 75 degrees.
Oh, okay. I forgot. It's January. Never mind.
Yeah, it's January 9th.
Well, then their heat's shitty. The radiator may say 75, but
like you can tell they're on though. It's a radiator.
It doesn't mean it was on to full blast, Hannah.
Every time they touch the radiator, it's hot. Like their heat is working.
Okay, the radiator can still be hot and it's still not managed to make it past like 60 or something in the house. It's cold in houses once it's like 60. And kids are babies.
Well, they were freezing to death.
No, they weren't. Did their fingers turn blue or anything?
Yes.
They had frostbite.
I doubt it. All right, continue.
The next morning, Kathy was bedridden and called her mother. She needed help as there were giant burning welts all the way up her body. There's never any explanation as to where they came from, or what caused them, or what they were, and they disappeared as quickly as they appeared.
Sure they did.
Who was burnt?
Kathy.
Who's Kathy?
The mom.
One of our main characters.
There's a lot of names being thrown around. All right.
Kathy is the mom. George is the dad.
All right.
Stepdad.
And on January 11th, the family once again slept together in the master bedroom. George wakes up at 6:30 that morning to see every window in the room open and rain pouring in. Some of the windows were even torn out of their frames. And it wasn't just the master bedroom that was like this. Every room in the house had windows torn out and doors smashed open. It's also on January 11th when George decides to take the dog all around the house. He wants to see if Harry picks up on anything, and sure enough, he does. Harry hates the basement, won't go anywhere near the secret room down there. He still hates Missy's room as well. The sewing room is a no-go. and third floor playroom he completely avoided. It's January 12th. We're on day 26 of 28. Missy comes into the master bedroom and tells George that Jody wants to speak with him. In her bedroom window on the second floor, there were two fiery red eyes. Missy says, "That's Jody. He wants in." Kathy picks up a chair, throws it out the window, and breaks the window.
But now you've just given him a way in.
Yeah,
Stupid.
that woman's stupid.
The family sleep together once again, and George wakes up at 3:15 to the sound of a marching band. Despite being woken up by a marching band, George manages to fall back asleep and is awoken again by Kathy a few hours later. She tells him he was screaming in multiple languages. Apparently, he was having a nightmare about the hooded figure taking one of the boys from his bed. In the afternoon of January 13th, the Lutz family attempts to leave. They spent the day packing up their van to go to Kathy's mother's home, but the van wouldn't start. They were stuck in the house for another night. At 3:15 the next morning, the marching band started up again. The house was extremely hot earlier in the night, but now it was becoming freezing cold. The family, basically trapped in the master bedroom, heard the furniture on the third floor moving all around. Voices were emanating from the first floor, and it sounded as if the marching band was beginning to ascend the stairs. George claims to have felt hooves punching him on the bed. The boys claim to have seen a monster. It was a tall figure with no face. At some point during this symphony of insanity, George passes out from fear. And Missy somehow slept through all of this. Kathy and George, when he finally comes to, grab the kids and run. George looks up the stairs to the third floor and sees the same hooded figure that he and Kathy saw in the fireplace. It was pointing directly at him. The family races down the stairs. The front door was once again torn from its hinges. The Lutz family escapes outside and runs to their van, which miraculously starts. It was 7 o'clock in the morning of January 14th, 1976. The 28th day the Lutzes had lived in 112 Ocean Avenue. As he steered the van towards safety, George looked into the side view mirror. His house was fastly disappearing from his sight. "Thank God," he muttered to himself. "I'll never see you again, you son of a bitch." That ends the Lutz family experience with their haunted house. Eventually, news stations and newspapers picked up their story, and it soon spread around their nation. Fun fact, its first national appearance was in Good Housekeeping.
Was it
That's
just
actually kind of funny.
tips on what not to do?
Yeah, don't have ghosts. How
Don't
to know
let
if your
ghosts
house
into your house.
how to know if your house is haunted.
Marvin Scott of New York's Channel 5 News decided to investigate the story. He famously got together a group of psychics, mediums, demonologists, parapsychologists, and paranormal investigators to spend the night of February 18th, 1976, inside 112 Ocean Avenue. The most notable people there were the infamous Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Ah, all right. I have my answer as to whether haunted or hoax. All right, we've got it.
It's a hoax.
The Warrens are involved? Hoax.
Yeah, hoax.
Nothing happened this night. The best they got were weird vibes. I think some of the mediums picked up on residual energy of the DeFeo murders. Lorraine Warren picked up on a sadness and depression that she equates to the murders.
No,
Ed
she didn't.
Warren claimed there was a demon that wrestled him to the ground in the basement, but he
No.
claimed demons everywhere.
Nah.
The
That's a big
Warrens
no.
Another famous group was there as well. Yellow Card. They got inspiration for their song Ocean Avenue from this.
The Warrens did capture a photo of the child looking out the doorway in one of the upstairs bedrooms. If you're a fan of the paranormal and haunted houses, you know the photo I'm talking about. It's a very famous photo. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can Google Amityville Ghost Boy photo and it'll come right up. But overall, this big group investigation provided nothing. This photo is actually the only piece of hard evidence to ever come out of the Amityville case, and it has never been authenticated, but it also has never been disproven. Though everyone who was there the night of this investigation do say it's real. I want to quote Marvin Scott real quick regarding this broadcast investigation. He once said, "I've been asked if I was scared the night I spent in that house. Quite honestly, the night I spent watching the movie a few years later, the rowdy, pot-smoking audience was a lot more frightening than the night I spent in 112 Ocean Avenue." In 2013, there was a documentary titled My Amityville Horror. Daniel was interviewed and said George was dabbling in Satanism. In another documentary about the events of Amityville Horror, this one titled Amityville, an origin story, Chris Lutz was interviewed, and he had the following to say about the haunting. He claims that George purposefully opened the door to dark, supernatural forces by doing occult rituals in the house. According to Chris, George was extremely curious about everything paranormal. Chris did state that there was indeed paranormal activity occurring in the house. During his interview for the docuseries I previously mentioned, he stood by that statement, but from what I gather, Chris believes the family was more so haunted than the home. I now want to turn to the hoax. Not a single owner since the Lutzes have ever reported any paranormal activity inside the home. James Cromtree, the man who owned 112 Ocean Avenue from 1977 to 1987, said in an interview, "Nothing weird ever happened, except for people coming by because of the book and movie." One popular theory as to why the Amityville Horror is a hoax is money. The Lutzes were not a wealthy family by any means. The $80,000 house was technically out of their budget. George and Kathy had only wanted to spend 50 grand max for a house. Plus, they had 2 boats, one having been recently purchased. George had a motorcycle, and they had the family van. Not to mention, George had a business to run, and the IRS was looking into the business's taxes during this time. The family was kind of spending money that they shouldn't have. So this theory goes that the Lutzes were broke. They couldn't afford their mortgage payments, and they realized that before their first payment was even due. So they concocted the haunted house story. In an interview with the Seattle Times, Chris Lutz maintained that the haunting was not a hoax, but he did say his stepfather brought the troubles on himself by dabbling in the occult and then amplified what paranormal experiences did happen to profit off books and movies about the house. So incidents like the doors and windows being ripped from their frames, remember those?
Yeah,
That
the
never-
disrespect for personal property.
Yeah, well, that never happened if you ask Chris.
Ah,
And the owners of the house after the Lutzes say all the original hardware was on the windows and doors. Nothing had been replaced, even though the book says all the doors, windows, and locks were new and were installed during the 28 days the Lutz family lived in the house.
so all bullshit.
Chris also says that Kathy never levitated, there were no red-eyed pigs, and marching band ghosts never played in the house. Those were all made up by George and Kathy to sensationalize their story and profit from it. And speaking of profits, the Lutz family received $200,000 for their book and successful film spinoff.
That's it?
That's it. Which in the grand scheme of things is not a lot.
Nah.
But many people right from the start claimed the story as hoax. And that includes Ron DeFeo Jr.'s defense lawyer, William Weber.
And me
Weber,
too.
go ahead.
Yeah, me too. I claimed it right from the start. Bullshit.
Weber claims that he, George, and Kathy came up with the horror story over several bottles of wine.
Why the hell would you do that, Frankie?
All had by
You don't
him,
even
by
drink.
the way. He drank all the bottles of wine.
Originally, Weber and the Lutzes were going to pair up for the book. But the Lutzes rightfully walked away from Weber. He apparently wanted not only the rights to the story and 5% of the book's profits, But George and Kathy also wouldn't be able to talk about their experiences with anyone unless they got permission from Weber. And Ron DeFeo Jr. was also listed as one of Weber's business partners in a contract for this book they were going to write and would have received money from it.
The guy who killed everybody?
Yep.
Frankie, your counterpart, Dick.
Don't say he's my
He-
counterpart.
Yeah. Well, you share names.
The shitty William Weber.
The
sucks.
opposite of you.
Yeah, I didn't name myself.
So I do not count Weber as a credible source, even though he stated in many interviews over the course of his life that the Amityville Horror was a hoax.
I believe him.
You believe him?
Yeah, he's super slimy, but like
Yeah.
slimy enough that I believe this because I fully believe he went up to this family and went, "Look, guys, you said some
Yeah.
weird shit's going on in the house. What if we tell him a marching band came through the house, right? 3:15 every morning, marching
That's
band.
good. That's good. Yeah.
I get money. You guys get money. The murderer over there gets some money. Wave to him in the cell."
You know, only a slimy person would admit this.
Yeah, he would definitely admit it because he's the one he's giving these interviews and he thinks the bad part of the story is that they cut him out of the deal, not that it's a lie.
Yeah.
It's a good point. I didn't think of that. As a side note, Weber theorizes that George and Kathy always meant to capitalize on their infamous home. So now we have lawyers saying this case is fake. Chris and Dan have stated parts of the story are manufactured. And everyone who has once owned 112 Ocean Avenue has never experienced anything paranormal in the house. But what about all those paranormal investigators who have visited the property?
That's easy. Paranormal investigators are stupid.
Wow, okay.
That's true. Have you ever seen them? Somebody coughs and they're like, "Oh my God, what was that?" Somebody coughing on your team, coughing. Chill the fuck out.
So obviously you have the Warrens who say demons. They claim this is an incredibly haunted house, but fuck the Warrens. They're shitty people.
They're just stupid, too.
I'm glad we can all come together and agree on that.
I
Yeah,
am glad that you two know how horrible they are without me telling you.
of course I know. Yeah, they're awful, awful human beings. And I think they're just stupid, too. I think they're dumb.
Let me introduce you guys real quick to parapsychologist Stephen Kaplan, because we're going to be talking about him a bunch now.
How long is a bunch? I gotta get to bed, woman.
I know this is a long episode. I'm not sorry for it. I think I have like a page and a half left.
You
Go
better
quick.
speed read.
Soon after leaving 112 Ocean Avenue, George Lutz contacted Stephen Kaplan to investigate, and Stephen agreed to come. But his visit to this infamous home never happened, as it was soon canceled by George. Stephen, in interviews, had stated if the Amityville haunting was a hoax, he would find out. If George and Kathy were liars, he was going to be the one to tell the world just that. George claims he found out that Stephen was a fraud, that he was a liar, his credentials were fake, and that Stephen styled himself as a vampireologist. So George cut ties. He gave all these reasons as to why he didn't want Stephen to come to the house and cut ties with him. But Stephen Kaplan and his wife claim they were given a very different reason as to why the investigation was canceled. They say that George was upset that they talked to the press, as George didn't want any publicity surrounding the case. George Lutz, in an interview that I watched, said that Stephen really wanted to be famous and he was using George's story to do so. So the day after Stephen was dropped by George,
That's a little conceited. You only made $200,000 off of your story. And
Well,
you're
that's not
saying this guy's
that's not his fault. That's just more of he's a bad businessman.
the day after Stephen was dropped by George, Stephen goes to the media and calls the Amityville haunting a hoax. He points out that in the original newspaper articles about the haunting, the story changes every single time. Steve's wife said that even copies of the Amityville Horror by J. Anson are different. Apparently, if you compare a first printing hardback copy with the first paperback copy, there are differences in the text. Now, I do have to note that since Stephen never set foot inside the house, he never investigated it, and he had a messy falling out with the Lutz family, I can't just take him in his word. But he did write a book called The Amityville Horror Conspiracy, where he details all his evidence that points to Amityville being, well, a conspiracy. There's yet one more theory about this true, quote unquote, story. Mass hysteria.
Folia do. Yeah, shared delusion.
Mass hysteria is defined as a condition affecting a group of persons characterized by excitement or anxiety, irrational behavior or beliefs, or inexplicable symptoms of illness. And I would say the Lutz family experienced all those things. Excitement or anxiety, both emotions associated with moving into a new home. Irrational behaviors or beliefs, those were definitely in our story. Inexplicable symptoms of illness. Well, Kathy did wake up with large burning welts one day that came and went with no explanation. I'd say mass hysteria is definitely a possibility. Though I note that there was no previous mental health issues reported in the family, and there was no reported use of drug or alcohol that might have triggered such behavior.
It was also the 70s. We didn't have the greatest mental health track record there.
There was also a lot of lead everywhere.
That is true. Now, mass hysteria certainly sounds possible, but there's no trigger for it, or at least no natural trigger. Like there's no mold or carbon monoxide found in the house, so there's nothing like that could have triggered some hallucination. And with that, I finally reached the end of the Amityville Horror. Frankie, Amanda, I have but one thing to ask you two. Is this story haunt or hoax?
It's a hoax.
It's a hoax.
Yeah, it's a hoax.
You guys are correct. Personally, I find the truth to be somewhere in between. Out of everyone I talked about tonight, I believe Dan and Chris the most. I believe them when they say they experienced something in the house, but I also believe their haunting is nowhere near what George and Kathy ever claimed it to be. I believe that George and Kathy were trying to make some money when they realized they couldn't afford their new home.
I would agree with that. Let's look at those bank records.
We know the bank records. They got $200,000.
That went towards legal lawyer fees, lawsuits, and renting a new home in California.
Idiots.
Yeah.
Bad
Dum-dums.
business.
All of them.
Well, I hope
thank you for this.
I'm sorry?
I said thank you for this.
I gotta
This is
thank
good.
you. Oh, you're very welcome. And I hope all our listeners enjoyed this 2.5-hour long episode as well.
We're gonna condense it.
I'm going to get to the edit. I'm going to cry.
You're welcome.
Just take out all of the pregnant pauses.
I had to drink some water.
Well, with all of that, let's real quick run through the end of the episode stuff. All right, Amanda, you're next.
yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah, Bambi.
Bambi, woo! We're gonna see
Woo,
a dead deer.
Disney!
Yay, woo, death. All right,
Yeah.
let's take care of business.
Yay,
then.
woo, death.
Yeah, there's
Not
a dead
yay,
deer, right?
No, not yay woo death.
There's a dead
Yay,
deer in that
cute
movie.
baby deer.
Deer
Yay,
dies in
cute
that movie.
baby deer.
Yeah, a doe.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure Bambi's mom dies in that movie.
Don't remind me, I'm gonna cry.
All right, let's take care of business real quick. If you're listening to this on YouTube, we are on YouTube. You can like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell for notification when every episode is uploaded, and share this with your friends. If you're listening to us on Spotify, please leave a review so we can be seen by more people, and also share this with your friends on Spotify. If you would like to send us an email, ask us a question, if you'd like to leave a little review of the episode there, if you'd like to give us just a comment on any of the episodes that we've done, or you'd like to leave an idea for a future episode, you can do so by sending us an email at
Nothing to see here podcast at gmail.com.
if you'd like to see great artwork created by Amanda, funny memes created by Hannah, some other photos and previews of stuff that we're doing put up by Hannah, and weekly quizzes you can participate in every Friday. You can do so over on our Instagram page, which is
Nothing to see here pod. As always, here spelled HEAR.
the links to both the Instagram and the email, or the addresses for both of those, are in the description below on YouTube and the episode information on Spotify. And with all of that, the business is taken care of. I can finally turn my fan on and stop sweating. Goodbye, everybody. It's Frankie.
It's Hannah.
I'm gonna go to bed.
Me
Bye.
too. Bye.
Bye.